let me switch cameras and let's do a little lesson on sufficient necessary. Just a more, a basic lesson. I'll show you exactly what you should know about sufficient necessary. So if I tell you if A then B, it just looks like something simple, right? Oh, if A then B. But this actually is a very powerful statement. Here's what you have to understand. When I put something on the left side over here, which we call the sufficient side, the sufficient means enough, right? You say, oh, I am sufficient, I am enough, right? The sufficient side is a side that the LSAT sometimes in a choice will call the guarantor side. Sometimes a choice will say he guaranteed. This is the guarantor. So let me write that down. You don't have to memorize this. I already spelled it wrong. I have to fit a U in there. You a guarantor, right? Guarantor. My handwriting is bad. All right, guarantor. Why is A called the guarantor? It's called the guarantor because it's enough. It's enough. You don't need anything else. It's a guarantee. What is it a guarantee for? This is super duper strong. This means whenever you have A, you will for sure get to B. There's no exceptions. If you have A, you will for sure get to B. Let me just go on a side over here for a second. This is not saying that this is the only path to B. It's possible that there's more than one sure way in. If you're a famous celebrity, maybe A says famous celebrity, you will for sure be put in the front of the line and get into the club right away. But it's also possible maybe if you tip the guy $20 bill, that's also a sure way to get in right away. You tip the bouncer $20, also a sure way. When I say A is a sure way, I'm not saying it's the only way. It might be, by the way, it might be the only way into the club, but I'm not saying that. It might not be. There might be other ways into the club. There might be some sure ways and some sometimes ways. Let's just say this is a club where if you tip $20, oh yeah, the bouncer loves $20. He puts you right into the club. B is the club over here. What happens if you tip $10? What happens if you tip $10? Do you get into the club? And the answer is it depends on how desperate the bouncer is that day. Some days he looks at your $10 and he says no to you. Get out of here. Nope. Get back of the line. Some days he looks at your $10 and goes, yeah, I need that here. Come, go right into the club. What do we call that? $10. What do we call that? That's not a guarantor. A guarantor means every single time you're getting into the club. When I wrote if A then B, that means there are no exceptions. There's no bad days, bad moods for the bouncer where he says, no, thank you, me. No. If A represents, let's say, a famous celebrity, every time a famous celebrity comes, they are getting put in the club. No bad days. No, oh, it's raining, so no, thank you. Oh, no, you're not dressed properly. No, thank you. No, the bouncer's having a bad day. No, thank you. No, when you put it here, it's sufficient. It's enough. It will get you there every single time. Maybe something else also gets you there every single time. I didn't say this is the only one, just that it's powerful enough to get you there every time. What about this guy? This guy gets you there sometimes, but not every time. So is there any causal link between this $10 bill and getting into the club and B? Yeah, there is a causal link. What's the causal link? Sometimes this $10 causes you to get to go right into the club. Sometimes it doesn't. But you can't say there's no causal link because sometimes it does cause you to get right into the link. There is a causal link between this and getting to the club. But can we call it sufficient? We cannot, because sufficient is a guarantee that it will work every single time. And like I told you in my story, this $10 does not get you in every single time. So if you see something on this side of an if then arrow, it's telling you it's a guarantee it will get you to that side. There are no exceptions. If X then Y, X gets you in every single time to Y. Could there be other things that also get you in? There might be. There might not be. Maybe X is the only thing. Maybe other things all get you in sometimes, and X is only the only guaranteed way in. Maybe nothing else gets you in at all. Maybe this is the only way in, and it's a guaranteed way in. Maybe there's 9 other guaranteed ways in. I don't know. We're not telling you any of that when we tell you this. All we're telling you is this is enough. This is enough to get you down that slide, down that arrow to Y every time, no exceptions. So now you guys know what sufficient means. Sufficient means it gets you there every single time, no exceptions. Okay, what if something gets you there sometimes? Well, don't tell me it's not causally related, because it does get me there sometimes, but it's not going to get me there every time. Well, you can't draw an arrow. If you draw this arrow, you are saying it gets you there every time. That's what you're saying. And if 10 does not get you there every time, don't draw that arrow, because you're saying it's sufficient. You're saying it's enough. You're saying it's a guarantor, and it's not. Okay, now you guys fully understand why the first side is called the sufficient side, and you won't forget it. It's sufficient. It's enough. It's a guarantee that it's enough every single time to get you into the club. Now, the second side is called the necessary side, but it's really confusing to understand why it's called the necessary side when you look at it regular. It only makes sense to understand why it's the necessary side when we make a contrapositive. So let's get to that in a second. But before we get there, let's talk about the first side again. If I tell you X, then Y, you're looking at this X now and you're saying, okay, that's a guarantee to get me in the club. It's a golden ticket. It gets me in the club every single time. It's a guarantee. Did I say it's the only guarantee? And you say back, no, you didn't talk about that. There might be other guarantees that get you in the club. There might be other things that aren't guarantees but get you in the club sometimes, all the things we talked about. So, what happens if someone does not have the golden ticket? They don't have the guarantee. Does that mean they're not getting in the club? We don't know that. Because, like we said a minute ago, there might be other golden tickets. There might be other, like the $20 bill. There might be other guarantees. So I don't have I'm not a famous celebrity. Does that mean I can't get into the club? Well, maybe not. I don't know. If you're not a famous celebrity, I mean, if that was the only way into the club, then yeah, you're not getting into the club. But we don't know. All you said is A, then B. There might be some other way to get into the club, like Z, like $20. In that case, if I don't have the golden ticket, does that mean I don't get into the club? Not necessarily. I don't know. Don't say yes, don't say no. The answer is we don't know. If there was some other way to get in the club, then not having X doesn't mean I don't get to the club. Maybe I could find, kind of looks like an X again. I could find T. I could find something else that will get me into the club, right? So the point is this. Here's the point I'm making. This guy, you don't know if he's necessary to get into the club. If you lose your golden ticket, you say, oh man, that was your only way in. Now you'll never get in. You needed that. You don't know if you needed that because there might be other things that will get you in every time. There might be other things that will get you in sometimes, right? You don't know if you needed that to get to the club. So you can't say you needed that to get to the club. No, we never said we needed this to get into the club. It's not what it meant by putting it on this side. What it meant by putting on this side was it's enough to guarantee you into the club. It's the best ticket you could find. Are there other good tickets also? Maybe, but it's the best. It's a great ticket. Now, if I lose it, am I out? I don't know. Maybe I'll find another way in. So don't say without this, I won't get in. Now you see why it's a wrong contrapositive. When someone says A then B, you only took my word for it before, right? You memorized it, but now you understand why. You say, oh, that means it gets me into the club every time. Are there other things get you into the club? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. Okay, so what about no A? Does that mean no B if I draw a contrapositive? No A doesn't mean I'm not getting to the club. In fact, maybe I won't get into the club if that was the only ticket. But if there were other tickets, then no A doesn't mean I'm not getting to the club. It just means I need to find another ticket into the club. So this is a wrong contrapositive because what you did over here was you took a sufficient guy, a guarantor ticket, and you lost it. And you said, oh, so I can't get in. You don't know if you can't get in. Maybe you can still get in. You don't know if that ticket was necessary. But when you said this, no ticket, then no club, what you're saying was you needed that ticket. And we don't know if we needed it. So you turned a sufficient into a necessary. You turned it's enough to get in into well, without it, I'm screwed. I can't get in. You don't know that. Maybe you can still get in with a different ticket. So you don't know that. So you turned him into a necessary saying, oh, without it, then I can't get in. You don't know if he was necessary. Maybe he's necessary, but maybe he's not. You turned a sufficient into a necessary. So that's what those words mean. And they were all confusing sounding, but now you understand it fully. X and Y means that's enough to for sure get in. And what happens if I don't have X? I don't know. I don't know. If that was the only ticket, then yeah, I'm not getting in. But if there's other ways to get in, like $20 or a different ticket, maybe I still get in. So I'm not going to say then no why. That would be a bad contrapositive. It would be a flaw because that's calling him necessary. Without him, I can't get in. And I don't know that he's necessary. All I know is he's enough. He's sufficient. He's a guarantor. Okay. But now let's switch to the other side. But this guy is called necessary, right? Sufficient, necessary. This guy is called necessary. Why is he called necessary? Like I said, can't really explain it on the if-then way. But it's very simple to explain it on the contrapositive way. I'll tell you why it's necessary. Because if you make your contrapositive, you go negative y, right? He goes there, becomes a negative. And he goes there and becomes a negative x. If you make your contrapositive, negative y, what happens if you lose him? Then you cannot have x. Oh, can't I find a different ticket to get that? No, you cannot have x. Sorry, you're screwed. If you lose him, no y, you will not have x. He was needed to have that. So know this, know that. He was needed. So he is necessary. He is necessary. Now, that's a 2-second explanation after I give you a 10-minute explanation on the first side. It's kind of weak sauce. I understand that, but that's all you have to know. But let me show you how it plays a role in real life. Well, real LSAT life, I should say, not real life. In real LSAT life, it's very simple. It's very nice, actually. If you get a sentence and they want you to turn it into an if-then statement, all you have to do is listen closely to which part they say was the needed part and put it on the necessary side. And the other guy is the sufficient side. So for instance, if I say, hey, you human, John, you need air to live. You say, oh, what's the if then there? Don't overthink it. Just what do you need? You need what? You need air. Well, that's not the necessary. That's sufficient. That's the enough necessary. You need air. Okay, air goes here. What do you need air for? To live. So live goes on the other side. So here's what the if then says. If he is living, it's a guarantee he is taking air in. It's a guarantee there is air. If he's living, there's air in him. And contrapositive, if you take away his air, yeah, that was necessary. No more living. Then he will not live. So anytime they give you a sentence, you're like, oh, how do I know that was an if then? And we'll see this more as we get to more complicated flaws and other question types soon. But anything that's needed goes on the necessary side, and the other one goes on the sufficient side. But now you guys know what a sufficient and a necessary is. Now, let's say I tell you one more time with the club. Let's just say celebrity, you're a celebrity. Okay. Oh, I have two C's now. All right, let's not go with celebrity and club because then I have two C's. Let's go with, if you tip $100, let's say that's X, $100 X, then you get into the club, right? So this is sufficient. This is enough. This is a guarantor to always get you into the club, right? If they then say, all right, he got into the club, so it's a guarantee that, hold on, this guy is a guarantee now? This guy's not a guarantee now. Don't say, oh, he's a guarantee, he's enough. This guy was never a guarantee of anything. This guy was the guarantee. So what you're doing now is you took this guy who was the necessary guy, and you're saying he's a guarantor, he's an enough guy, he's a sufficient guy. You turned a necessary, you're trying to turn a necessary into a sufficient. Okay, so here's the bottom line. Bottom line is like this. They will go with an if-then statement in a passage. They will then draw a conclusion that will make a wrong contrapositive. There's two possible wrong contrapositives that they make. They either go like this. They don't swap the sides. They just negate. They go, oh, okay, then the conclusion is not A, then not B. This is a bad conclusion. This is a bad contrapositive. Now, by the way, these could both be true. These don't clash with each other. This could be true and this could be true. The flaw isn't that they're trying to say they're both true. The flaw is that they're saying that this is known from this one. Well, they could both be true, but this is not known from that one. These are two separate statements. This is not known from that one because what's happening over here? Here you said this guy was enough. He was sufficient. And now you're saying without him, we're screwed, that without him, we can't move on, that he was needed. He was needed. Without him, we fall apart. We needed him. We never said we needed him. Here they took the sufficient guy and they're saying, well, without him, oh, they're saying he was necessary. We didn't know he was necessary. So they turned a sufficient into a necessary. Let's look at the other wrong contrapositive they make, right? That's one of them. They go A, then B, and this time they do switch the sides. They forgot to switch the sides there. They do switch the sides, but they forget to negate. But what are they doing over here? They're saying, oh, if you have B, then I guarantee you, oh, B's not a guarantor. B was the necessary guy. A was the guarantor. A was enough. A was sufficient. B was what we call necessary. You now took your necessary guy and you're saying if he's on the left side, then you guarantee us something? You turned your necessary into a sufficient. That's what you did. So this kind of turns a sufficient into a necessary. This turns a necessary into a sufficient. But you understand now, you memorized for me on day one when I taught you formal logic in lesson one, what's sufficient, what a right contrapositive looks like and what a wrong contrapositive looks like. But now you understand it with the terminology of sufficient and necessary. It's not so difficult once you get the hang of it. Oh, that guy is a guarantee. That's it. He's a guarantee. I didn't say you need him. Without him, no, without him, I don't know anything. It's just a guarantee. Once you get used to it, it's much simpler in the terminology. But you had it in the video, you have it again now. All right.